This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Opening night of high school football season. Means the suit is gainfully employed again. Wrong take.
I'm in the same boat. It means I'm gainfully employed again.
You work with me, pal. You're good.
Well, that's true.
All right. And Shikellami's at Milton tonight. Sealands Grove, Juniata. That game will be on Eagle 107. Shikellamy on WKOK. And there we go. A high school season starts tonight. Not only that, it'll feel like really nice high school weather tonight. Should be, in the upper 60s tonight?
Yes. And as I said yesterday, maybe more importantly, low humidity.
Yeah, that's the big part. I mean, it's going to feel nice. So, at least we're making progress, because tomorrow there'll be 5 college football games, including the game in Dublin between Iowa State and Kansas State. It is interesting. We talk about the gambling part of it, and we've mentioned that from time to time. Todd and I don't really have any interest in gambling. Meanwhile, Suit the Greek is in the back room. I don't know what he's doing. Okay?
He's got his Swami hat on. He's making all his picks.
How frightening is that, America? This half hour, by the way, to open the show is brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day. 6 great flavors of slushies. Ready-to-drink cocktails, High Noon, Jack Daniels, Crown Royal, Pickle Bar led by my personal favorites, the Barrels and the Dills, indeed second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. The gambling part of it. I mean, there will be people that will put money on college games this weekend. But I don't know what you're gambling on. You don't know anything about these teams. You could sit there and put together all the analytics and stats and everything you want. The personnel changes so often. How do you figure out, take Stanford, Hawaii? I mean, Stanford's changed over its team. I have no idea whether they changed it over for the better or not. Do you?
Let's be honest, do they?
No, they don't. I mean, they do not. I mean, they don't know what they have. Frank Reich doesn't know what he has. I don't know what Hawaii has. I mean, I'll watch some of it. There's no question about that. I will watch some of it. But my goodness.
Will we be getting that one?
Yeah, I think that's on CBS Sportsnet.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's on CBS Sportsnet.
Now I know what I'm doing late Saturday night.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll sit back and watch it.
Heck yeah.
I've got a game on tomorrow night, but I'll be back from the game. I don't know. Last night's game went 3.5 hours. You know how you do at the end of the game, all the stats, the land, and State College had, what was the final? 6-5 last 6 runs, 11 hits and no errors. Williamsport had 5 runs, 7 hits and 1 error. Tonight's attendance, 1,274. Time of the game, it was 3:29 last night. It just felt like it took forever. So I said the time of the game, I said it was 10 hours, and Putnam's laughing. I go, oh, wait a minute, wasn't that long? Felt like 10 hours. Oh, yeah.
was going to say, baseball's so crisp and fast-paced now for baseball. It must be weird to watch those games.
Yeah, but you know what? Here's the issue with the league. Number one, the pitch clock's always 20. So it's always 20. But not everybody in the league is good at starting the pitch clock. You know what I mean? In the majors, you've got guys that are paid to start the pitch clock. That's why bang, it goes. Bang, it goes. Here, there'll be guys out there who'll get the ball. They'll get the ball. They're on top of the mound. Pitch clock hasn't started yet. You know, some guys just get the ball and throw. Love those guys. Confident enough just to get the ball and just pitch. The unconfident ones are the ones that are like, okay, there's 3, 2. Throw the ball, will you? At some point, you got to pitch it. I mean, seriously, at some point, just step up and pitch it, okay? I've said that for years. Step in the box, hit. Get on the mound, pitch. Let's go. Hey, you can't be that off in what you're doing in life. I mean, come on. I see stuff like that, and it drives me nuts when I see it. I mean, all the time I see it. You're like, what are you doing? Just go. Come on. Let's go. Let's move.
I was going to say, you watch all those old 1970s YouTube videos of those games, and they go, even Mark Fidrich with all the bird stuff didn't take that long.
No. Goodness sakes, they didn't have a pitch clock back then. They didn't need a pitch clock back then. They did not. Right? And these guys act as if it's like some big thing to do this. You're like, what are you doing? I mean, come on. I look at stuff like this, and I shake my head all the time. In other words, they've done a job in such a way with guys where on the mental side of it, they've got them overthinking everything right now. What are you doing?
Have you been to a high school baseball game lately?
No.
They call it, I mean, even in Little League now, they call every pitch. The Little League kids last night were wearing pitch comm.
They're wearing pitch comm?
Yeah, he had the catcher had the little thing in his ear when he took his helmet off last night.
You gotta be kidding me.
I mean, how many different pitches could a Little League kid have? Fastball, curveball, changeup.
Not many. Good Lord. That's another category to me of you got to be kidding me. They have pitch comm in Little League?
Yep.
Jeez, just. Did I ever tell you that story about I'm coaching an all-star team. And I mean all-star team. I'm not doing the primary all-star team. It's like they always had tournament teams beyond the all-star team, like a second and third team. So I've got like the second team or something like that, right? And the team that's going to go to the States wanted to play us in a scrimmage exhibition. Like, we're just going to play it as a game, so we're in a scrimmage. Okay. And so in the first inning, I'm coaching the game. You know, and I'm leaning up against the dugout, and they get off to be honest with you, they get off to a great start. They end up like it's at the end of the first inning, it's 7-1. All right. Okay, they're really good. I mean, this is a team, by the way, that had gone to the championship game of the Mid-Atlantic region as 12-year-olds the year before. Okay? So they're really good. I mean, let's not fool around here. They're really good. And so I'm watching, though, the first inning, and I'm like, I can pick up every pitch. They're calling the pitches from the bench, and the manager is outside the dugout, calling pitch. I'm looking at him, like, okay. Well, he's blatantly doing in front of everybody. right? So I pulled my team aside, and I said, "Hey guys," I said, "let's talk for a second here." I said, "They're blatantly putting their pitches out there for everybody to see." I said, I know what their pitches are. I said, so all the right-handed hitters look at me, because we were in the first base dugout. I said, look at me, and I'll tell you. I said, here are the signs that I'll give you. I said, and then if you're a left-handed hitter, I said, I'll relay it to the third base coach. And we won the game 24-8. Now, our pitching obviously got better. Our defense got better. We only allowed one run the last 6 innings. It was a 7-inning game. And so we only allowed one run the rest of the way. We won the game 24-8. And their manager came over. He says, "This has never happened to us before." I said, "Mike," I said, "you got to be careful with what you're doing." I said, "You're doing two things that," I said, "just don't make any sense to me." Number one, they played their shortstop always behind the bag at second. I said, we have right-handed hitters. We can't get around the pitchers. I said, all our hitters got around to your pitchers today. We pulled everything. He goes, "Oh, that's true." I said, you got to position him better. Number two, I said, you're giving away everything you're doing. He says, "What?" I said, "We knew every pitch you were throwing." I said, you're too blatant with how you were signaling your pitchers." Because he was outside the dugout, like, facing me. You could sit there and say we're the Houston Astros using trash cans, but he's doing it in the wide open area. What am I supposed to do? All right? But I was also giving him a hint that, because it's a scrimmage, so it doesn't count. I was trying to help him, like, if you're going to do this from your dugout where the opposing team can't see it. And it's like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, now they got pitch comms. Pitch comms? Really?
Was that the team that lost to Dandy Almonte?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, I saw them in States. We had a team in States that year.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
I didn't realize that you're not allowed to steal signs in Little League.
Yeah, I know.
I was watching. No. I was watching a game earlier in the World Series this week, and the kid out at second base was raising his arm for a fastball.
Yeah, well, you're not allowed to steal signs in Little League, but this wasn't Little League. This was Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
But, I wanted to prove a point to them that you've got to be careful. You know what I mean? Because our game didn't count. It was a scrimmage. So I'm sitting there going, I felt like I was helping him. You know what I mean? I felt like I was helping him because they were, they were blatant about what they were doing.
When this is a while ago, I won't say who it was, but it was a state baseball playoff game, and both teams were familiar with each other. And the team I covered, the manager we were at Bowman Field. It was the old Bowman Field jet, and he was in the corner of the dugout calling signs, and he was trying to hide himself from the other team's manager.
Right.
3-2, 5 hits, almost 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Because the catcher couldn't see the signals from the corner of the dugout. So then we'd sit there and wait, and then the batter would step out, and then the catcher would stare over. He still couldn't see.
Oh, brother. Yeah.
So it goes both ways.
I know. But, but I'm just saying, it's just, I did it because, look, to be honest with you, as a manager, he made a huge mistake.
Oh.
Right? Our game didn't count, so it didn't. You know what I mean? So since it didn't count, I'm like, I pulled him aside. He said, "I want to know what we're doing wrong." And I told him, I said, "You're doing this, this, and this wrong." And he looked at me and goes, "Oh my God!" He says, "I said, Mike, you're outside the dugout. Like, I'm talking like he was in a catcher's position, maybe 5 feet outside of the dugout." I'm like, I'm sitting there like going, you got to be kidding me. I don't know.
As long as I've played baseball, that guy was the decoy.
Yeah. Well,
the sign was usually coming from somewhere else.
Yeah, he wasn't the decoy. That was the issue. And to be honest with you, that's a huge issue. Now, I mean, later on, that's when when Alex Cora called me about that. I said, "Why don't you guys use trash cans?" No, I'm just kidding. I think we'll do that. That's a great idea.
It worked.
I know. It was great. I got a ring out of it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I was going to say, it's not the trash cans. It was the camera in center field.
Yeah, I know. Right.
Telling them what to bang on the trash can.
But in other words, you can't be, my point is, as a coach, he's trying to help his kids out, but they're calling every pitch. My first thought was, you want to know how many pitches I called in my lifetime for any pitcher I have? I did Little League Babe Ruth coaching for 14 years. You want to know how many pitches I called?
I would guess 0 to 10.
None. 0. Nada. Not one time. I let the kids play the game. I said, just go out and have fun. Right? And I never really gave much. The only advice I ever gave to pitchers was just on technique. If I'd go out to talk to them, I'd say, look, I said that you're throwing the ball high because you're not bending your legs enough to get into a lower position to throw. I said it's affecting your release point. I mean, that's the only advice I ever gave. Now, I also had a 12% winning percentage, but
this goes back to previous conversations, though, about lack of fundamentals. They're not allowed to think on their own enough to figure out what to do when they do get older.
Well, see, this is when Jack Ham talked to the football team the other night, it was about technique. That's what he talked about. He says, your technique. He says, you've got to perfect your technique. All those drills, work on your technique. He says, every big game I was in college, it was drilled into us about technique. He says, and technique would be the reason that you would be able to make a big play in the fourth quarter of a big game. He says, same thing when I was with the Steelers. We drilled technique all the time. So when we got to the fourth quarter of a big game or a Super Bowl or whatever it may be, he said, the right technique to make plays, and we could rely on our technique. And he said that was really important. And that's what he that's what he talked to them the other night when he talked to the team. Well, technique's a big part of this, but you've got to let kids play. You got to let them play. And I feel like they're not letting them play. And they're spending so much time calling the game for them, they're not drilling into them exactly what the proper technique is. That's how I look at it.
You didn't have your Little League spray charts?
No, there's no spray chart. No spray chart. No. Based on previous at-bats, I would position players. Based on previous at-bats or previous games. I'm like, you look at a guy, he's not really a pull hitter. I'd shift him over in the outfield and maybe a couple steps in the infield. So, I would position players for that, and that's just based on what you saw. But
in high school, I didn't keep the book, but I was always, Hummel, what did he do last time?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. Got what, Nick Farabaugh today, huh?
Yep, next segment.
Good. Looking forward to hearing from Nick. This will be great. And we will take a break. Back with more in a moment on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
How much can you save with 0% financing for 60 months at Sunbury Motors Hyundai? Just listen. Save $8,987 in interest on a 2025 Hyundai Santa Fe. Save $9,780 in interest over the term on a 2025 Hyundai Palisade. And to make it even better, Sunbury Motors Hyundai has additional discounts. Get an additional $2,250 SMC discount on 2025 Hyundai Santa Fe SELs and an additional $2,500
$500 SMC discount on 2025 Hyundai Palisade calligraphies. Remember, all new Hyundais come with Hyundai Assurance and are backed by America's best warranty. 10 years, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Be a hero with zero. Save nearly $10,000 now with 0% financing for 60 months plus SMC discounts. Only at Sunbury Motors Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. Vehicle savings based on finance comparison between 0% and 5.99% APR for 60 months. See dealer for details.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now, from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
And this is brought to you by Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, Route 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai, best in new inventory. Great pre-owned inventory with the Sunbury Motors guarantee, and a terrific service department that backs it up every step of the way, whether it's quick lane, inspections, routine, difficult. It is all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Nick Farabaugh joins us on the show today. Nick, welcome back. Great to have you with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on as always, Steve. I appreciate it.
Well, we're almost there. Any update on Derek Harmon?
Yeah, it's a knee sprain. It seems like it's one that's not going to end the season. And listen, he might even be back for week one. He might miss the first 1 or 2 weeks. I think he's going to avoid short-term IR, so I think that's a positive for the Steelers. It's probably around a 3 to 4 week injury. Maybe he can play through it. They're about 16 days out of week one. Wouldn't be surprised if they hold him out of that first game in New York, and then he returns for Seattle. But all things considered, when he went down, his reaction could have been a lot worse. So it feels like the Steelers avoided worst-case scenario here.
How has he actually been in camp, and how's he been when he's played?
I think he's been pretty good. He's very powerful. He's got a great bull rush. That's been his big thing. Yeah. Great length, so he can get into those offensive linemen's chests, especially interior guys. Look at his game against Tampa Bay, and you really saw him push the pocket multiple times. Even yesterday against the Panthers, he was doing that. But his real impact immediately is felt as a run defender. He's a really great run defender, instinctual, understands concepts, can block shed, can eat up double teams. He can play anywhere, I think, up the line, too. He can play end, he can play nose. I think he's a really versatile piece that they can utilize. So he's been good. I don't think he's been elite. He wins pretty slowly as a pass rusher. I think that's the big thing. Is how can you win a little quicker? Because he's never going to be this super explosive player. He's going to be a guy that has a lot of pressures, maybe over sacks over his career, is my guess. But how can you just finish that a little more quickly? And I think that's going to be unlocking his power through his length a little bit better. So there's little nuances he can improve upon. But so far, I think he's been pretty good.
Okay, so the interesting question is the great unknown. How much more do you know, Nick, about the Steelers today than when they began camp?
I mean, I don't know that I know a ton more. I mean, I think a lot of things we thought are true. What I do think is that the marriage between the Jalen Ramsey kind of idea of him being a versatile chess piece has become clear. He'll play safety base, he'll play nickel, and then if they have a receiver that they deem quality enough, he will travel. I think that is going to be one of the big things that's answered. So how do you utilize the secondary full talent? I think I feel a little better about that. I feel better about their offensive line. I think we've seen guys like Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu really round into form over the last few weeks. And I do think we kind of know a little bit more about Roman Wilson. I don't know a ton more about what this offense is going to look like. I do think we've seen some of it, but I think the Steelers are still hiding some of the mold between Rodgers and Arthur Smith. How is it going to play out in game? Because We're going to see him go empty. We're going to see 12, 13 personnel. We're going to see a lot of different things. It's a very odd confluence of ideas. And so I think that's going to be something that's really going to play out over the season. And, a lot of the guys haven't been on the field at the same time. Like Joe Smith's been banged up. Rodgers has luckily been there the entire time working on his chemistry, but Calvin Austin's been hurt. They give DK plenty of days off. So it's kind of an interesting kind of mold in saying, hey, how are these things going to work together when they're fully displayed? Because I think that's one thing we still don't know. I feel like there's a clear vision for the run game, a clear vision for the defensive scheme, but the passing game is still one that we got to figure out.
I'll get to the pass game in a moment. In fact, I'll just do that now, then I'll get to the running game. One thing as the season went for the Jets last year, with different personnel, was that they gave Rodgers shorter routes to throw the ball, and it allowed his accuracy to increase for obvious reasons. Is that something that is a distinct possibility for the Steelers because he is 40 years old now?
I do think so. And as you talk about, the decline of Rodgers from his peak, I think downfield accuracy has been number one on that. He did miss a few throws there. The other thing the Jets had was just a lot of offensive line injuries or guys like Tyron not playing well, so the O-line didn't play well. So they had to get the ball out quick. There's that. And the other thing that kind of hurt when you just kind of fall into this quick game trap. Quick game's obviously a big part of things, but it can't be everything. And what happens with that is essentially what happened with Big Ben late in his career is teams just cheat up. They play the quick game, and you essentially become shut out of the quick game. And so they do need to make sure that the downfield part of this passing offense is still they have a ton of guys to be able to do it with. Roman Wilson showcased an ability to do that. Scotty Miller played himself with the roster of being a downfield threat. They have Calvin Austin still. Obviously, DK can do that too. So they still need to be a team that can focus on that. What I think they need to do better is get yards after catch. So guys like Jonnu Smith, who are known YAC producers. Roman Wilson is a known YAC producer from his time at Michigan, just catching those crossers. DK Metcalf on slant. So things like that, I think, are big keys to them diversifying their scheme.
Yeah, and Jonnu Smith's not America's greatest blocker as a tight end. I mean, he's a tight end, wide receiver masquerading as a tight end. Now, as a catcher, he's terrific. But that gets us to the running game. Can they get some balance in this running game? Because you've got three guys back there that don't know what it's like to be a full-time NFL running back, down in and down out.
Yeah, that's going to be the key. And, I mean, I think Jaylen Warren, obviously, yesterday looked a little rough. Caleb Johnson has kind of found his bearings finally, but I'm not sure he's ready to take on the full-time game. He's not a three-down running back right now. He's not a great pass protector. He's not a great receiver. So, naturally, it's going to slant towards Gainwell and Warren. I think it's going to be more of like a three-headed kind of do-it-all committee. I think that's what it's going to be like. And Warren's going to lead that committee. I think he's going to get a lot of Caleb Johnson in the early downs, and we'll see how Gainwell fits in there. I think they're going to run a little bit of two running backs this year because they've split out Gainwell a lot as a receiver, and he's a really good receiver out in the slot.
Yes,
so
he is.
I don't hate that idea. I do think that the Steelers need to be able to kind of find a confluence of ideas of, hey, this is the concept this guy works with, what this guy works with. You know, I think with Warren, for example, you can more gap runs in there. With Caleb, it's wide zone. With Kenny G, it's done a ton of different things like duo and inside zone. So each guy has their best concept and is more comfortable kind of ability to hit on some of those. So I think that's going to be a big thing. But I do think it's a big question. Do they have a running back here that they can fully trust to take over the game? I don't think they do. So I think it's going to come more down to scheme and blocking up front to make up for that.
But Caleb Johnson was a terrific running back at Iowa. But you and I both know, Nick, that the pass game at Iowa over the years has really struggled. So he's not going to be important in a passing game at Iowa. He's not going to be important in pass blocking at Iowa because their pass game was not utilized often at Iowa. I mean, that stuff goes from college to the pros. I mean, and I know the Steelers know what they were getting when they got him, but I'll say this, he is, in terms of running the football, he is a good running back.
Yeah, there's nothing about that. And I think people don't realize how fast he can get when he gets in the open field. I've seen him outrun guys and destroy angles. So I do think when you look at Caleb Johnson, the running part of things, I'm not that worried about. He's got great vision. He's got really light feet for his size. The one thing as a runner that I haven't been enthused about this preseason is I think he goes down a little easily on contact just around his ankles. I'd like to see him break contact a little better. But he is a really decisive runner. He's got decent burst. He's got good speed in the open field. And so as a runner, I mean, on the early downs, he'll be getting a lot of carries in those wide zone situations. But anytime the passing game has to take precedent, you pretty much have to take him off the field. And why wouldn't you, considering what you have in Jaylen Warren and Ken Gainwell, who are at least producing as receivers that have proven to do that and are proven pass protectors as well.
And now Metcalf's there, but Pickens is not. He's with Dallas. Has it been a drama-free camp, in part because Pickens has not been there?
Yeah, it's been pretty drama-free. I mean, you know, there's been some scrappiness, and the defensive backs, I think, are definitely going to be mouthy this year. They wear the ball on their shoulders. I think that's something you could think about when you have Jalen Ramsey in there and Darius Slade, Juan Thornhill. But I do think the drama has not been there. It's not been a drama. It's been like a competitive, fire-filled type of camp. I think a lot of these guys enjoy that. I think a lot of these guys enjoy the hard coaching that even guys like Aaron Rodgers have brought. You know, Rodgers has poured a lot into guys like Roman Wilson, for example, and obviously Roman Wilson has responded in a really good way. So there hasn't been a ton of drama at camp. It's not like, you know, Pickens, when he was out there, was always like, oh, what's going to happen? You know, things could go a little crazy. It feels like behind the scenes this team is kind of gelling and starting to find each other. Now, Steve, you and I know when adversity hits the fan, sometimes things go south. We've seen that happen with Rodgers before. We've seen it happen with DK before. We've seen it happen with Ramsey before. So let's see when the Steelers start to lose some games. But right now, I think in training camp, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Hayward brought up contract at one point. Boswell brought up a contract at one point. Any word on how those have worked out?
There's not really been any discussions on those. I mean, they've both returned to practice, so that's something. I mean, Boswell's even playing in the last two games. But Hayward returning on Tuesday was a bit of a surprise because there's been almost no discussion there. Maybe they're waiting until after the cutdown day, and, you know, maybe they're waiting to see, hey, will we add this guy, wide receiver, or what cap space do we have? Because when if Cam does get a raise, he's going to get a nice, like, $8 million raise. It's not going to be, you know, $2-3 million. It's going to be significant from his 2026 bonus, which is around $13 million. He'll get a good chunk of that this year if they do that. But right now, it doesn't seem like there's much of a resolution in terms of both those getting fixed. And we'll see if it ends up happening. I kind of feel it will towards the start of the season. Right before that Jets game, I imagine they will get something done with both these guys just to kind of reward them. But I do think that the kind of offset to that is, hey, you guys got to be out there practicing, and we need you ready for week one.
Nick, is there a player or two that's actually done really well in the preseason that you're interested to see if they do make the cut?
Yeah, I mean, I think Andres Pete actually has been somebody that I really like. You know, they signed him late as a veteran, trying to get this offensive line depth, which I think has been a real weak point for them throughout camp. They've had some injuries as well among their key depth guys. And here he comes in, you know, over 100 career starts with the Saints. He's played pretty well for them. He can play left tackle, can play left guard. He would be a huge boost if they can fit him on this roster, and I think they should. So he's somebody that has really kind of flashed to me at times. And then the other guy that has stuck out and I think has done well is Zazio Tomowo, who is on the defensive line, number 72. A lot of people probably don't kind of check in on him, but you look at him in the third and fourth quarters when he's been alongside guys like Loudermilk and Logan, he's looked better than that. He's more explosive. He's got powerful hands. He's got good physical tools. I think he should make this roster. And then the last guy, actually, is Carson Bruner out of Washington, who I think's had a nice preseason. Great active special teamer, special teams captain at Washington, and he's been really active in the run game and has some coverage upside. He's battling Mark Robinson, who we know who Mark Robinson is. He's a hammer nail. He's a great run defender, great special teamer, but Bruner's been really impressive in a lot of the phases.
Bruner, of course, I saw a lot of video on him getting ready for the Washington game. He's a guy that knows how to play. I mean, I think he's an impressive player. You know who he reminds me of? The guy they got from Temple a few years ago that played on special teams for him, Matakavich. That's who he reminds me of in some ways.
Yeah, it's not a bad comparison.
Nick, always a pleasure. Appreciate the time and the great information.
Have me on as always, Steve. I do appreciate you always inviting me on.
Hey, Nick, thanks so much. You do a great job. Nick Farabaugh. We'll come back with more in a moment. Great to have you with us today. Half hour brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com, and by Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is, because it's Brewers Outlet time. The Beverage Supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.
All right, high school football opens tonight. College football opens tomorrow. This half hour brought to you by our good friends at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai, best in new inventory, great pre-owned inventory with the Sunbury Motors guarantee, and a great service department. Well, there happens to be quick lane inspections, routine, difficult. They handle it all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. For all of you who have had the privilege of talking with Dave Ritchie over the last few months, he will be unable to talk for the next 10 Friday nights.
I do know you're worried about this. The suit does have his open done.
And how long is this broadcast extravaganza that will be submitted for awards?
He says it's not that long.
So it's less than 10 minutes.
Sounds like it.
Wow.
The chief might be able to get a word in edgewise.
Emphasis on word.
Yes.
Fly ball caught. Oh, goodness. Well, they're tonight at Milton. Does Shikellamy play at Jersey Shore this year, or is that game at Shikellamy?
No, that is at Jersey Shore.
Oh. Suit not exactly revered there at Thompson Street Stadium. Oh. Brutal. My only concern for Dave in that particular situation, because Dave is loved and revered, is being collateral damage.
Dave's smart enough to not sit too close at Jersey Shore next to him.
Well, he's essentially not doing that at every stadium.
Well, that's true.
He and Kevin make a great team. They do a great job. So, yeah, they really do. Well, hopefully this will be a better season. That's what I'm hoping for. Because, look, it's more exciting. It's less of a grind for everybody, for fans, for the broadcasters, for shows, things like that. It's less of a grind. When you're talking about, like, say a team goes 1-9, for example. I mean, for the fans, it's tough to go out there. You have some hope, and the hope disappears in the second quarter. And like you're trying, those two guys are trying to broadcast the game, knowing that in the third quarter there's no chance of winning. Then we come in to talk about it on Thursday, and I'm sitting here trying to invent questions.
I feel you, my friend.
I mean, because you've had to cover a lot of teams like that. Well, now, even if it's 500, there are a lot of really good things to talk about. Even when it's 500. And, obviously great seasons, it's tons to talk about. But even a 500 season, still a lot of positives.